You are watching a SINspirational interview on the Faithful Sinners. Welcome back, friends, to the Faithful Sinners. My name is Timothy Baker, and on today's SINspirational interview, I had a great opportunity to sit down with somebody I call a friend. I met him when he was the principal of my children's elementary school, and we're going to hit hard on some questions around religion, around education, and all of his experiences from being a Christmas tree farmer, an educator, a principal, a musician in a local band, and now a religious leader in our community. So it's with my great pleasure to introduce to you Chip Joseph, or like I like to call him, Pastor Chip. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining us today. I have an opportunity to speak with Chip Joseph, or otherwise, as I like to call him, Pastor Chip. But Chip, thank you for joining me today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
You've got a colorful background, many different seasons in life that you've experienced. So today, I appreciate you sharing some of those things with me.
Sure.
And I'm going to kind of run through a few different questions, if you don't mind, that I've written up just to make sure I stay on track and don't go off base and keep us on our time schedule for you.
Sounds great.
Okay. But speaking of your seasons of life, if you had to describe your life right now as a season or even as an image, what would that look like?
I think my season right now is the season of ministry. I was an educator for 30 years, and I had been all through that time feeling a call into ministry from very early on. And I've had integral people in my life who have pulled me into different aspects of ministry. I worked as a youth leader for a while. I did music. Well, I still do music in churches. Taught a lot of different Bible studies, did a bunch of different things, and they just kept happening. And so it was like this tug that never let go. And I even got offered a full-time position at a church to be their youth person. And I was in the middle. I had to decide whether I was going to continue with education or continue with the ministry, and I wasn't sure. And I don't know if it was like a Jonah situation, running away from it, or if I was just not ready yet. And I'm still being trained. But I will say, when I got to 30 years in education, I think I just came to this realization. In fact, it was February of 2019. I literally woke up and I told my wife, I said, I think it's time for me to go into full-time ministry. And she said, awesome, because she's been hearing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what vaulted me into this. And that season alone has been filled with amazing happenstances that have gotten me to a place where I'm planting a church now.
Yeah, no, 2019, that was a real challenging few years in that time frame as well.
Yes.
So making a transition during that period of time took a bold leap.
It was. And I had these opportunities. I had been at St. Matthew's as their music person. I was leading all the music for the contemporary service. And the new pastor who was there, Mark Montgomery, he invited me to go full-time and do children's or family ministry and music. And he created a full-time position for me to do that, probably maybe 6 months or so after I had retired. And so that kind of fell into place. And then during COVID, I learned a lot of other skills, as we all did.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I just felt like, all right, I want to be a pastor. And so the Methodist Church has an opportunity for you to get licensed. And so I took that route and got licensed. Our church created the position of associate pastor for me to stay and serve in that capacity, still do music and other things. But then the superintendent of our district superintendent challenged us to go out into the community. And that's when basically I felt called to plant a church out here in Montpelier.
Gotcha. Well, how did, speaking of your teaching roots, how did your years as a teacher shape the way you see people, your purpose and calling?
Oh yeah. So when I was teaching, I taught for 16 years, first, second, and third grade, and absolutely loved every minute of it.
Tough years for some.
For some, yes, for sure. there was something about it that I was really drawn to. I loved that time where it's like literally a light bulb goes off when they learn to read, and just so much discovery and learning that happens during that time.
Yeah.
I really loved it. And during that time also was learning how to play the guitar, and I was playing guitar with my kids in the classroom. And so there was all these little skills happening. One of the teachers at South Anna Elementary School where I was teaching, her then boyfriend, now husband, was also a guitar player, and we met at a faculty picnic, and we started playing together. And the next thing you know, we formed a band and started playing for a while. And in fact, we're
Nice.
still playing together in a different band, but some of the same
Is that
people.
the
The
windbag?
Windbags, yes, yeah, we're still playing. The Remnants was the first band, and that grew to 8 pieces. And
Wow.
then when COVID hit, it was just really hard to keep that all together, and no one really was hiring anybody to play, big spaces like that. So we broke it down to 4 acoustic as like an acoustic act, and we're still doing that, which has been a blast.
I'll have to make sure I look up when you're playing next, because I was mentioning
Yeah,
something about that to a friend, and I wanted to make sure we got out there
please do. Yeah,
while they were in town.
yeah.
Well, as far as your leadership lessons, from being a principal, how would you say they still guide you every day?
There's a lot of administrative things that I think are helpful, and I think one of the things which I think is really a biblical lesson too is that they've taught me how to back away from circumstances, not allow the personal side of me to get drawn into whatever situation you're trying to help solve or handle, or just listen. Um, and that was a special lesson for me to learn. When you're a principal, you hear all kinds of things, and people come to you to have problems solved, and you can't always solve them, but you want to at least be able to try, or at least lead them in a way that they can find a solution to their problems. But
Right.
that has really helped me in this role as pastor. Um, uh, and I also think that the daily interaction with people, and just having the opportunity to see what fuels people, see what people are passionate about, that I got to do as a principal, but I really get to see that as a pastor too, because people share a lot of things with you, and in both roles, and
Right.
it's just neat to see where people are coming from, and it also just reemphasizes the fact that we all have a story. We're all coming from different places, and there's great things that are we're in line for, and it's sometimes we just need someone to talk to figure out maybe what that looks like.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree. There, the things people come to you, though, I would imagine, are a little different from each of those roles as well.
For certain, yes, yes.
Well, is there a moment with a student or a family that changed you in a way that you still carry with you today?
I have probably several moments that I can think of where
Yeah.
parents have either wrestled with a situation their child was really struggling with, and we didn't hit it on. We weren't talking the same language for a while, and then uh, all of a sudden we kind of realized what we were each missing in the story. And I think that patience and hoping that would be there'd be a way to resolve that, really taught me a lot about time, about the importance of relationships, and sometimes you have to get a little deeper in a relationship in order to speak into truth,
Yeah.
before, because if you do it too soon, sometimes you lose the influence. And
Gotta have some of that trust,
yeah,
and faith
absolutely.
in each other.
And I've been able to actually see, years later, I've had folks come back, and now in my role as pastor, I have folks that I worked with at the schools that are now coming to me in a pastoral role, because that relationship was solid, when I was a principal. So
Oh, that's got to be pretty cool.
it's really cool. Yeah.
Well, you've had some unusual chapters in life. You mentioned musician,
Mhm.
but what led you into being a Christmas tree farmer, and what did that season teach you about growth and patience and stewardship?
Oh gosh. So we were living on Lauderdale, and what hadn't been Short Pump yet before it grew into Short Pump. My wife and I, we'd been married a couple years, and we were expecting our first child. And so I was teaching at South Anna out here, and when we decided to look for a house, we thought well, this is beautiful out here. Let's look out here. And so we had called a lady for directions. She was a realtor out here for directions to a house we were looking for. And she said, well, I'll give you directions from my house, which just happens to be for sale as well. And you can go from there. Sly move. But we drove up the driveway and there's all these Christmas trees, all shaped and ready to go. It was, I guess it was probably fall, and everything looked beautiful, this little barn. And I remember, my wife will tell this story too. I looked at her, I said, this is it. And she goes, can we at least see if there's a house on the property before we commit? And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. So we got into Christmas tree farm. We had no idea what we were doing. And we just decided, well, let's see what happens. So the owners before kind of gave me a crash course on what to do as a Christmas tree farmer. And we were like a choose and cut operation on the weekends. And so people would come and they'd cut their tree down, and we had a little measuring stick, and we charged $3 a foot, which is ridiculous compared to what they're charging now.
Right.
But we always had my band at the time we did an opening the weekend after Thanksgiving, and the band would play in the barn, and we'd have a big kettle of Brunswick stew, and people would tag their trees in preparation for Christmas. And
Oh, wow.
and so it was all this fun marketing and just bring people together, and it gave me a real sense of what community is like. And I mean, if you're going to sell something, a Christmas tree is a great thing to sell. People are usually in a good mood when they go out for them, and especially if they're not very expensive, they're in even better mood. And so we had families that would meet for the first time at our farm, and my wife made a different ornament every year that they hung them all on the tree, and the kids would take an ornament every year. And we still have people, take pictures of the ornaments and send them to us at Christmas, and we still have the ornaments. And
That is really cool.
really neat. So it's just a cool way to connect with the community in a way that we had never thought would be from us.
All right. So it sounds like it taught you a lot just about, community relationships.
Yeah.
And being ingrained in those environments. And Christmas tree farming, I think, would definitely be a positive environment.
It really is. I mean, the summertime, and at the time I was teaching, so we had the summers. Both, but my wife's a teacher as well, and I would go and do the shearing, which is the time you do it in the summer. And the only downside is that I'm allergic to pine, and so I had to be completely covered, or I would like break out all over the place. So 98 degrees, full everything, hat, everything. It was gloves, everything. It was a little warm.
Yeah,
but
so that's amazing.
but-
How ironic you choose Christmas tree farming. Well, as far as unexpected lessons, is there anything from farming or even your music history that taught you about God that the classroom never could have?
Oh, interesting. I'll start with the farming. I think with farming, and I don't put myself in a category of most farmers. I'm a weekend warrior in the farming division, but I did learn that there's patience, there's reliance on God's providence. I mean, if you don't get any rain, if you don't have the right conditions, things could go south pretty quickly. And I can't. I mean, we didn't make a lot of money. It was Christmas money, if anything. But for those who are relying on that as their source of income, that's got to be a tough role. And you really do realize that everything we get comes from God, and you have moments where we did have droughts 1 or 2 years while we were doing it, and you could see the difference. And looking back, we can actually look at the trees are now like 40 feet tall, but you can see these spaces where the branches didn't grow because there was drought, and so they were holding on to their liquid so that they could continue to thrive. And it just has a lot of different parallels to what God did for His people, gosh, back in the Old Testament, and what He does for us now. Just realizing that that's our role is to see it, and I think that gave me a special opportunity as a farmer to see that. And the classroom, I think the classroom for me has always been the excitement over the sense of wonder that children have, and how they approach the world in an innocent, hopefully innocent, through innocent eyes, and just so excited to learn and to discover. And I often think about how do we lose that as we get older? I mean, I know we have all these things that we're responsible for that kids aren't, so we have those things. Um, but I'd love to, to be in a place in my mind and my spirit that I could jump up and down in puddles and enjoy that, which is slowly coming back as we have now two grandchildren. And
Ah,
so
awesome.
seeing it through their eyes has been a big, great rekindling of that kind of spirit.
So you mentioned two grandchildren, and married.
Yeah.
How long have you been married, and how many children do you have of your own?
36 years we've been married. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And we have three children, two boys who are both married. The oldest one has two children. The second one's only been married a few years, so we're giving them space. And then our youngest is our daughter. She's 21. She's got one more year in at JMU and finishing it up there. So,
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, so it's been pretty awesome to
Yeah.
watch all that. And all three of them were in the schools that I was at. When I was at South Anna, they came, and the boys were there at South Anna. When I was at Beaver Dam as the principal there, my daughter was there. And so it was, not many men get that opportunity to spend that much time with their children during the school.
Exactly. And speaking of men in schools, that's probably one of the reasons I volunteer over at Beaver Dam, and where I initially met you.
Yes.
Was with that watchdog program.
Right. Yeah.
The whole reason I got involved was because there aren't enough men. There aren't enough father figures in the world.
Right.
And the fathers that are out there that don't take those responsibilities seriously are too great nowadays, which is unfortunate.
Right.
So I commend you for being a male role model in that environment, especially with the young kids, because it's not easy. Test your patience. It's a lot of work, but a lot of reward comes out of it.
It does. It
sure.
really does. What's kind of neat too is I've got some former students who are coming back to the St. Matt's North, our church, which has been. They have their own kids now, some of them, which is not sure how I feel about that, but it's exciting to see that that relationship there was something in that relationship that made them want to come forward. And
yeah,
it was really cool.
Very cool. Now, as far as your call to ministry, was there a moment that God was calling you outside of the educational world to move into ministry? Prior to that 2019, it sounded like it was something that's kind of been a calling on your heart for a long period of time.
It has been. I was very fortunate to have a mother who was very, very strong in her faith, and was very articulate about her faith. And I always felt like there was something in there that was kind of trying to find its way out. Most of my life, I remember taking a young life trip out to Colorado when I was 15, and that for me was the moment where I literally had a mountaintop experience. I was on the mountain,
right,
and literally prayed a prayer to give my heart to Christ, and that's when I think the real tugging started to happen after that. Getting involved in starting in Young Life at my school. We had a good group of my friends would get together and we prayed before school. Just a real great camaraderie that still exists. Some of those folks still come to St. Matt's North now, which is really cool. But there's always been someone who has plugged me in. I had a pastor, Bert Brooks, at Shady Grove. He had this phrase. He used to say it to me all the time. I'm pretty sure he said it to everybody, but I just remember him coming to me and he'd say, "Well, Chip, are you plugged in enough?" And I learned that either saying yes was probably not what he wanted to hear, but if I said I'm not sure or no, then instantly I was getting plugged into something. So I knew there was something behind that question every time. But because of that, I ended up working with the youth for several years. And as I said before, they offered me a full-time job there. I did a little bit of music there. I was still learning when I was doing that. But then I taught a bunch of adult Bible studies and some youth Bible studies. And then when I was principal in Henrico, my first principalship was at Holiday Elementary School. And I had this, one of the administrative assistants out front. She was fairly new. Her name's Becky. And she would come into my office probably once a week. And she would always say, "God's preparing you for something else. This is your training ground." And at the time,
interesting.
Yeah, and it was a challenge for me. That school was a challenge for me, and so I think I was probably too overwhelmed to kind of grasp what she was telling me. But when I look back and look at all the different roles that I've played, and even music and everything else has been these stepping stones to bring me to this moment of becoming a pastor. And I don't know what's beyond that. I don't, who knows what's next, or how this goes, but
Right.
it's really cool.
Well, let's see. Is there jumping into your church launch here?
Mm-hmm.
I had an opportunity to plant a church myself, ironically, in this same building that you're doing it in, and that's about 10 years ago. So I understand the challenges and the heartaches and the joy-filled moments that all surround it.
Yes.
But what is the heartbeat behind this new church that you're planting?
So we were challenged at St. Matthew's, which is up in Centerville, Mannequin Sabbath area.
Okay.
We were challenged by our district superintendent. We were doing very well in a time where a lot of churches were kind of declining. Their attendance was getting lower. Ours was going up, and things were looking wonderful. And Mark and I, as the pastors, were enjoying that, but we knew there had to be something next. The next challenge. What are we doing next? And his guidance was, instead of making bigger space for more people here, why not move out to a place that you could maybe there's people looking. And so the battle cry became, let's find those who are unchurched or dechurched and maybe get them rechurched, and have an opportunity for because I do believe there's a lot of folks that, whether they didn't grow up in the church, or maybe they didn't have a great experience in the church, that they're looking maybe for a soft landing. And so as we decided to try this, I realized that I had, at least I think I have, some of the skills to create a soft landing for that that person seeking that place. So it's been neat to see how it has unfolded. And I had one of the managers here at the Montpelier Center told me a story of a lady who came from North Carolina to launch a church here, and was like the third or fourth time here. Went from like 30 people to 20 people to 10 people, and then she came one Sunday and no one came, and so that's always been in the back of my mind. Right. So every Sunday that we have a service, always about an hour before, I'm always going, Lord, if people are going to come, please let them come a little early so that I'm not stressing all the way up to 4:00.
Right.
For someone to walk in.
That's funny. Well, as far as the community, what burden for this community keeps you up at night or wakes you up early in the morning? It sounds like maybe just finding those unchurched, those that are seeking.
Yes, and that's a real challenge in a rural setting. I trying to get to people in a way that suits them. I mean, we try Facebook and some social media things. I'm out at Dave and Friends on Tuesday mornings as my unofficial office hours, meeting people and seeing if there's a need for them there. But I think there's that connectivity that they're missing. And I think it's probably a worldwide problem with technology has really caused us to be, we're technologically connected, but we're not connected as brethren and sisters, and so I think there's that desire to be in community, and feel like there's a group of people that know them and care for them, and that I believe that God's love through us can help create that community. And if that's the result of this, that would be great. I've even said to folks, if this is your stepping stone to go back to the church that you used to go to, then that's a win. It's all about finding that reconnecting or connecting for the first time with God, and nurturing that. So if the connection happens and you nurture it somewhere else, great. If it's at St. Matt's North, great. It's just about getting people back into that connection.
Now, the connectivity and soft landing, creating a nice environment for your people to feel safe in. I definitely felt that when I walked into one of your services for the first time. As far as the culture, moving from St. Matthew's as the primary church, and then this being the planting church.
Yes.
What denomination do you fall under, and is there a specific type of culture that you would like to see resonate here?
We are St. Matthew's is a Methodist church, and so this is an outreach or a extension of St. Matthew's, at least as it stands now. And it's my understanding, and I'm new to all this, but it's my understanding it takes some time before that you make that decision to become independent, and become your own church. So we have a ways to go with figuring that all out. But I'm working on building a planning team. I had a planning team that was based out of St. Matthew's, and they helped
Get you to this point.
get us to this point. And now that we seem to be forming a community, I want to create a planning team from that group of people to see what the needs are and what we need to go to next. And so it's my hope that the next step would be to go every Sunday as opposed to just 2 Sundays a month. And then who knows where that'll go from there. So
great. Okay. As far as the first year, what are some bold faith steps that you believe God is asking your church to take in the initial years of its planting?
Did you mean the home church or St. Matt's itself?
St. Matt's North.
St. Matt's North. Okay. So I think the biggest, boldest move was to start out just even plopping down in here. There are churches in this area, and certainly what I don't.
We're in Virginia. There's a church almost every mile.
Yeah. You can't go anywhere.
Right.
But I think what I don't want to do is I don't want to be a competing church with anyone. We were all really trying to serve the same God and create kingdom here on earth together.
Correct.
So I hope there'll be a day where that's something that we're all working together to do that out here and figuring that out. Right now, it's really just, hey, if you're out there and you don't have a place to go, but you're seeking, come try it and be a part of this.
Well, I'll tell you what captured me in the church itself was I am a member of another church, Beaver Dam Baptist Church in town.
Sure.
And,
no, well.
Love the church, love the community, love the people, men's group connectivities, all of the stuff that's there. But what I was missing was something in the evenings on Sundays.
Sure.
And they've got a newer pastor over there that's still trying to get acclimated and figure out things, and that's another massive undertaking to start adding additional services, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I wasn't even expecting that over there. So I started to look outwards. And when you'd mentioned that you were a pastor, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, it's 4 in the evenings. I was like, well, this is a calling. So that was phenomenal for me.
Wow, that's great.
And I think now getting connected in with your Bible study on Tuesdays, which is also another day that I was looking for a fill, was just perfect fit. So I think that you found a good niche that some of the other churches don't necessarily fill.
Right.
So it opens the door for people not to feel competition, but a joining or a growing of their opportunities for spirituality.
Yeah, absolutely. And we chose, or I chose 4 o'clock for the reason of not competing with times in the mornings. And people have said when you go every Sunday, you're going to go into the mornings. And I don't know the answer to that yet. Maybe my new planning team will come up with what they think is best there. But another person who was drawn to that 4 o'clock time slot was a former student at South Anna that I ran into at the YMCA, who is now doing our music, he and his wife. And he said, we've been looking for something on Sunday afternoon, and we want to bless your church with the music. And you've been there. They do bless our church. Their music is wonderful. It's so inspiring. And so all these little things, I feel like God's just unfolding things and saying, all right, here's someone that can do the music. Here are people who are looking for that time slot. Here are people, it's really been very humbling to see, wow, God's got this going on, and I'm just holding on for dear life.
Well, that's awesome. As far as some leadership and shepherding and spiritual formations of life, how, I guess, leading your church has a lot of compliments from what you've brought from your role in education. Are there spiritual practices that keep you grounded as you carry this new leadership weight in the world of religion?
Absolutely. I have, when I was associate pastor at St. Matthew's, I shared the congregational care piece with our senior pastor. He took the lead on it, but there was plenty to do, and so I was able to do some of that. And he is actually a chaplain in the Air Force, a reservist, and so there's some times where he has to be away at a base somewhere, and so I do have those relationships that are working on congregational care, pastoral care. And what has been interesting is, as I've moved in, he's done a great job of kind of closing the gaps that I'm creating by not being at the main church as much. Uh, I'm starting to get folks from out here to slowly ask for opportunities to be pastored, and to there's, obviously you have to build up trust, and those relationships are slow moving. But that's my focus has gone from uh, this is my church and I'm trying to see what's going on here, to this is my church and I'm doing whatever I can to help as I start to transition to full time out here. And I don't know. I've been surprised at how this the relationship piece. We were talking earlier about how do you get the word out? How do you get people to even know about it? And I'm finding out that it's one person at a time. A good solid conversation and building up some type of relationship makes all the difference in the world. And
Yeah.
as much as you can, do videos on Facebook and do all kinds of things out there, people want to feel your presence, and that you're standing there with them, walking in this faith
Yeah.
journey. So
And in addition, I mentioned my experience here in this building,
yeah,
planning a church. That church is still thriving,
great,
doing well. It's actually got its own facility now over in Ashland.
excellent.
But then you also mentioned the other lady who had driven up here, on 4 different occasions,
Yeah,
and saw a dwindling response. I think the other big key behind it all is the consistency.
yeah,
That's where people really start to have the trust that you're going to be there when you are there all the time.
right,
Even when they don't show up themselves,
right.
they know that you did.
Yes.
So I think that's a big key to the success that you'll see out of this. And I don't even doubt that you would maintain that level of consistency.
No, thank you.
As far as your conflict and care moments, how do you approach conflict and care or difficult conversations within ministry?
I think being a listener is the first key. People have a lot to say, and of a lot to sometimes they've never articulated it themselves, their feelings and where they are, or maybe their own shortcomings that they feel are getting in their way. And so obviously I'm still learning. There's so much to learn in this role, but what I am learning is that the prompting with some questions and listening helps me understand a little bit more. And I think it helps to build that trust that, this is between you and I, and we're going to talk about this. And this is, there's going to be times where I may have to speak a little truth into where you're at. But I want to do it in a loving manner. I want to do it through through a relationship that is built through Christ, and in that, that's an opportunity for both of us to grow.
Right.
And I think people need. I think there's a lot of needs in the world right now, but I think that need for companionship, community, and feeling like there's someone that cares about them, and that you can build a community out of that. I think that's the strongest community you can build if starts with Christ's love, and then everyone sharing that with each other. I think it could be really powerful.
Well, that's a tagline that I operate under with Faithful Sinners is, we all sin better together. And that's an acronym of sharing and inspiring and navigating with one another.
Which is great.
We can't navigate and live this life alone. We are called to community. We are called to gather.
Right.
And that is a major component of what Christ asks is that we are working with one another, not against or in isolation.
Exactly. Exactly.
That understanding how you approach, conflict and challenging moments, there are probably two of some of the most socially challenging things that we, in any church that you're in, has to experience and address. Yet biblically, they seem to be more defined than some people like to agree to. But where do you find yourself with the conversations that bring in the LGBTQ or the discussions of Israel or some of those other challenging topics? Because they are very polarizing in some environments, which is very sad. Again, another reason I even have this podcast, because it's to break down those walls of communication. Let's have the difficult conversations. And instead of standing on two different platforms screaming at each other, let's stand in the middle and understand one another. And then we can agree to disagree.
Yes.
But unfortunately, these two topics, more often than not, start to drive people away without even opening up a door for conversation.
I agree, and I think one of the things that as a Christian community, and I say that as at large, that we suffer from, at least perception of the Christian community, is we may speak of love, but we step over it when we're ready to tell people what they're doing wrong, and we don't form those relationships. We don't have those godly relationships that need to exist in order to even approach any of those topics. I think you put it so well. Everyone's standing on opposite platforms and yelling at each other, and no one's hearing any of that. It's just a back and forth that never seems to resolve anything. And we're still called to love each other, and I think that's where unfortunately the Christian church can get a bad name for some folks who haven't been a part of it. They look at it as, you're great at judging. What about the part where you're supposed to be loving? You know, and it's actually why. So we made these coins, and they're challenge coins, they call them. But on the back is 1 John 4:19, which is, we love because He first loved us, and that was we purposefully chose that because we wanted to make sure that people knew that we were going to start with love. We were going to start with Christ's love in us, and then learning how to love each other. And we will work our way towards whatever it is we need to work. But all those things that stand in our way of our relationship with Christ, those are the things we have to hammer out. We can't do it until we're doing that together in Christ. And I think once you have those relationships, it's kind of like, that would be a preparation from being a principal, where the relationship I would have with parents helped me. When I had a good relationship with the parents, that would help me when I'd have to say, unfortunately, that we're going to have some disciplinary action to this because this was the choice they made. But let's make this a learning experience. Let's find this out, you know. But that was when I had a good relationship with them. You know,
Right.
When it was a distant relationship and we never sat down to talk, then it was just combative all the time, and we never really got anywhere. And in fact, it was. I'm not so sure that the child would grow in that situation either. I used to say at kindergarten orientation, the most important relationships you form are the people that teach you as parents, are the people that teach your kids. And because if your child sees that you have a good relationship, they can't play you off each other. They will learn in a whole environment. That's like one environment, all enclosed with parent and teacher together. And that when you have that, I think you're going to always have a good experience in school.
Well, I think like you kind of prefaced it even before the question of being able to speak some hard truths.
Yeah.
But doing it out of love and out of respect and concern.
Right.
And I think what I've learned in having conversations around those two particular topics themselves is that you're right. Unfortunately, a lot of people will go out and judge and blame and point fingers, whereas it's not about that at all. It's about modeling and showing and living a life in which you would want them to also find the value in and promote.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't mean that what they choose is my opportunity for decisions on what's right and wrong. Mine is to show them I still love you as a child of Christ.
Right.
And maybe I'm not going to live or make the same choices that you're making,
Right.
but I'm going to resemble the life that I feel would be beneficial for you should you choose to have more questions, I'm here. But I'm here as a friend, and I'm still going to hang out with you.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the breakdown that we have right now is we can't have that shared relationship of understanding that we are still people.
Right.
And we're all going to have differences of what we believe and how we feel about things.
Right. And like all of us, I've made choices that I'm not proud of, or choices that took me in a direction that was away from God. And so we all have to accept that for each other, in a safe, loving environment, we can talk about those things, and we can see where that's at.
Well, now I question if you were reading my notes, because you just actually nailed a question I was going to ask you.
Oh, all right.
Was there a time in your life that you acted in a way that didn't align with who you saw yourself to be?
After my freshman year in college, my 26-year-old sister announced that she had been diagnosed with leukemia. And by the end of that year, summer before my sophomore year, she had passed away. It was a pretty quick process. And I was angry. I was angry at God. And I made a lot of bad choices during that sophomore year. My grades suffered. I mean, everything kind of suffered. And I really didn't listen to anyone around me for a while. I just needed to get mad at God for a while. And I've told this to friends before. The good thing is if at least if you're mad at God, that means you have enough of a relationship that you can do that, you know? And so I was very fortunate to have Christ's word planted in my heart from my mother, and nourished as I was growing up. So it was still in there, and it was still solid, and it was still ready to be nourished. I just had to get through some things and work through it. And I think, honestly, I think I came back stronger than I was going in afterwards, because I'd learned that God didn't leave me. He didn't cause these things to happen, but He was loving me all the way through it. And once I realized that, then I realized, okay, he's been there with me the whole time. So
And I would imagine some of those experiences that you walked those journeys on are opportunities that allow you to have conversations with some people that may not be able to have those conversations with everybody.
Yes.
Because those are, unique experiences that we can then, bring out and help others through.
Yes.
So, well, thanks for sharing that, because I know that's not always easy.
No.
What is one story of God's grace that still brings emotion to you when you tell it?
I'm a musician. I love music. Has been a inspiration to me in different ways. And there's a song called Gratitude. It's Brandon Lake's song. And there's a piece of it where he says, in the chorus, it says, "I know it's not much, but I've nothing that's fit for a king." And I think about that, and I think, all I have to give is gratitude to my Lord and Savior. I can give that to Him, and when I do that, my heart is so much different. My expectations are so much different. My confidence, everything about me is much different when I enter into this idea of gratitude all the time. And it's hard. It's hard to live that life. I fail all the time. But there's that few moments where I feel like, all right, when I'm just connected, it's because I've given it all to Him, and I've realized that it's all come from Him. And that's what chokes me up. I hear that. I've sang that in church, and my wife will say, "I know you were. I could see it. You were getting ready, and you got through it. That was good." But there's just a very appropriate relationship that happens when you go into it with a heart of gratitude.
Yeah.
And it gets me every time.
Yeah, the song that always gets me is that "I Am Redeemed."
Oh yes. Oh, that's a great song.
That one, I even had a hard time telling you
Is that Big
right
Daddy
now.
Weave? That's Big Daddy Weave, is it? Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I even have a hard time saying that sometimes, and then it starts sinking into me. So your life had a message that God keeps writing through you. What would you say that message is? Sounds like it might be gratitude.
Yes, I think gratitude, and especially looking at what God has been doing in your life, both good and bad. Uh, Not that He's doing bad in your life, but He's that things have happened in your life, building upon it, and that, like that administrative assistant said, we're in this training ground, and God's always preparing us for this next thing. There's something in Ephesians 2. We are God's handiwork. Like He's building us, and it's what's so exciting about that idea is that as we get older, we realize it's not over. We have more to offer. He has more purpose for us. And I think it's sad for those who get older and think, well, I'm just here. God's not nothing left for me to do. I think we all have it. It's just about being gracious and grateful for the things that He's placed in our lives that have steered us and prepared us and shaped us and sometimes stunted us in different ways that have helped us go in the path that we're at. I never would have thought when I was principal at Holiday Elementary School that I'd be planting a church in Montpelier many years later. But I think she did. She just kept saying, "This is your training ground."
Yeah, she saw the light in you there.
There's something going on there. So
That's interesting for a public school environment too.
yes, yeah, that's true. It's always it's a challenge there.
Well, wrapping things up here, just in closing around your hope and legacy, what legacy do you hope to leave as a pastor, as an educator, husband, father, and as a follower of Jesus?
As a 32 year resident in Montpelier, I've had some great opportunities to serve as a teacher, to serve as a principal, serve as a Christmas tree farmer, and be a part of many different things that have happened here. If part of my legacy were to help a faith community start, and that this whether it becomes a full-fledged independent church of its own, or it's something that has just brought someone's heart to Christ, and that community built upon that, that would be amazing. But I'm also what is so different about this role, and as opposed to any other role that I've taken before, is that I'm not afraid to fail in this role. I feel like God's doing whatever it is that He's doing, and I may think I know what it's supposed to be. And as I've learned many times over and over again, my plans don't necessarily aren't even close with what His plans are. And so I'm not afraid if this doesn't become a church. It's okay. But what I'm loving is that the relationships that I'm making, and the opportunity to talk about Christ with folks that I never would have talked about with them before, has been amazing. And so if that sparks someone else to have that conversation with someone else, then that would be an amazing legacy.
Yeah,
it's kind of shooting big, but we'll
I think that's a fair one to shoot for. I guess you just answered my next question, was where you saw this church in the next 5 to 10 years. And obviously it sounds like just expansion and bringing more to Christ, and opening the doors for more people to follow and explore.
I sure hope so. I think we've gotten to a point now where we have a pretty consistent group of people that are coming. And I think once we get our planning team together, I think that when they feel it's time to go for every Sunday, that will be an interesting transition to see. If consistently people continue to come that way. I've had more people question why we haven't done that than question why we are only doing
a couple
twice,
of days.
Yeah. So I think we'll eventually move to that, and I think that'll answer a few questions out there. But it's exciting to see how far we've come. It's not even been a year, because it was August 17th of last year was when we had our first service. And so we're not quite a year, and we're at twice a month, and a good solid number of people coming. So I'm very hopeful that within the next year we'll definitely be every Sunday,
every Sunday and beyond.
And beyond. There we
go. With Toy Story 5 coming out.
That's a great, great nod.
Well, just a final word then. What would be a final word of encouragement that you would speak to someone stepping into a new calling later in life?
I think what's so wonderful about having a whole career before this is the many experiences and the opportunity to serve God without it being there being any type of ladder. I don't have to. I'm not looking for achievement in this. It's just service, and uh, it's. I say that because I felt like when you're in the workforce, you're always looking for the next thing, and it's very important. But when you're going into this later in life, there's this uh, comfort that comes with and the fact that this is God's work. It's not really on me. It's really if it's anything on me, it's me backing up and letting God work through me and allowing that to happen. So dare I say it's easier later in life because maybe you've learned some of those life lessons and you've been knocked down a few times that you're willing to step back and do that. But I feel like that has been a theme since this has all started back in 2019.
Leveraging that mentality of servanthood, as you move into those newer experiences.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's right.
Anything else that you feel you would like to share that maybe we did not discuss, or something that you feel would be helpful for others out there?
Well, we are meeting twice a month, second and third Sundays at 4 p.m. right here in the Montpelier Center. Everyone's welcome, and we'd love to have you.
Well, I'll make sure that we have links for the services along with the church. Also find some information around your van, so people have seen some stuff popping up here and there as well.
Fantastic.
But I really do appreciate you taking time today.
Thank you.
This was a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about you, not only as a pastor, but as somebody that I consider as a friend that I feel that we're, just on our own journey of a friendship.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Chip.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Faithful Sinners, and get more inspiration on our website, thefaithfulsinners.com.